Welcome back to Beyond the Algorithm. I am your host, Victor Vincian, and you see the hairs hanging. This Black Fabio in the building, you know, and I got to my to the other side of the screen the most infamous Queen Smoke from Air the Fuck Out podcast. Hey, you get a round of applause for making it back up here,
Thank
because
you.
yeah.
Thank you for having me.
You
I
get
always feel good when I come back because it's not playtime.
yeah. Hey, it's your playtime, huh? So
Yeah, I
it's
said it's my playtime for the people, the message whoever the message is for. It's not playtime.
yeah. Understood, man. And today our topic is going to be the real pick me. So
hmm
you want to give us a brief overview of the topic before we get into it?
Absolutely. So the I guess the term that we're all familiar with when we say "pick me" is supposed to be an insult to any woman, any black woman that cooperates, that agrees with and that sides with black men. Any black woman that's logical, any black woman that has sense. That's the insult that we get back from the sisterhood. Pick me,
Mm-hmm.
But for me, because the sisterhood loves to talk about projection, right? I feel like that's the one of the biggest things that they project, the pick me. Because for me personally, I feel like the real pick me is a woman that's chasing a man that shows no interest outside of sexual, that shows no commitment outside of sexual, and they still continue to not only be foolish in love, do your thing, but you continue to produce children, and that's where it's problematic because you don't make decisions, you don't make good decisions for yourself, and then you want to sit up and have children, and then also now you're their decision maker when you don't know how to make good decisions for yourself. So this
Yeah,
whole discussion is not to shame anyone, like I always want to mention, because when we hear certain terms, especially when we as black women collectively have to be accountable and have to tell the truth, we don't want to own up to it. That's when we get offended. That's when the insults come hurling. So I just wanted to walk us down, like, you know, the timeline, how it starts, what happens, and what's the cause too.
okay. I like the way that you brought that up, but I wanted to say this. You know, you know what the male version of a pick me is?
What's that?
A simp,
Right, right.
in my opinion, because I believe that a pick me and a simp pursues people that do not reciprocate.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter, like being. You can't shame someone that's getting what they want. It's just like
Right,
when you hear dudes call husbands simps. I'm like, that's his wife. It's not the
right.
same thing as you doing
Absolutely,
that for some woman that you're not committed to.
absolutely.
If you out here performing for women that don't respect you or don't want you, you're a simp. If
Absolutely.
you're performing for, if you're a woman and you're performing for men that don't want you, you're a pick me. That's
Absolutely.
what I think. And one of the things that I discussed previously too, since we last spoke, was um, how the overbearing mother raises her sons and daughters into the simps and pick-me's.
Right,
Because they both are performing for their mother's validation and they never get it, right?
right.
And then today I'm watching some stuff on TikTok and then I see
I put keeping it real before family. That's why people think I'm weird. The only people that think I'm weird is people that feel like family is everything. Family will fucking kill you. Family will hurt you down. Man, I'll cancel your ass, man. Man, look what boy did out there, Try to send me to jail. Man, I came from the sandbox with you, buddy. We ate off the same fork, buddy. Nigga. Fuck wrong with you, nigga? Nigga, because the hot water wasn't running. Well, it wasn't that much hot water, so we had to get another together because that motherfucker wasn't going to be hot for the next 2 hours, nigga. And you gonna go let these folks give you $800-900 to talk about me, bitch ass nigga? Man, you can give a nigga the world, fool. My daddy and my brother keep it real. My brother a gangster. Fat Gravy keep it real. My daddy talk about me like a dog. Like a dog. Man, bro said he had to tell him, man, hey, daddy, don't do that. I done seen that man give you 4,000-5,000 3-4 times, man. Don't do that, daddy. But when I stop, I'm wrong. I can't keep giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and giving. I got dreams. I want a lot of kids. I gotta have something for that, for my dreams. And how am I gonna do for people when I don't have an abundance? I'm not even where I want to be financially. How can I overdo my part for you? Whoever. I'm not speaking on my mama at all. I'm speaking on family. People who I said I loved outside of family, that I embraced. Niggas. How you gonna go against me? Who else gave you $4,000-5,000 3-4 times? Answer that. Answer that question. Now why you so hard on me for? Can you just admit, and you greedy, and you ain't got no hustle? Can you just admit that? And I'll be all right. And I might still help you. Can you just admit that you a selfish, greedy motherfucker and you ain't got no hustle and you want to live off me? And you know law, you know that ain't how it go. My babies didn't ask me to be here, cut. I'm not holding my kids accountable for what I went through. You see what I'm saying? And get what? If my kid disturbed my peace, I cut my kid off. You gotta understand. That's just one kid. I got 4 more to deal with. I got 4 more. I ain't gonna abandon you. I ain't gonna push you to the streets and tell you and wash my hand with you like I got done. Yeah. See, I was 11 when a motherfucker told me, I wash my hand with you. I ain't even know what the fuck wash my hand with me meant. Until I was 13, 14 years old. Damn, that what that meant. It hurt even worse then. So, maybe it's trauma. Maybe it's because of what I've been through. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I ain't charging it the trauma. I'm charging this shit the reality. This shit reality. Everybody going through this shit. And I'm not just because of I'm not finna be blaming trauma for other people's mistakes. I ain't hell no. I ain't hell no. That shit over with, cut. The fuck? What we doing? You know what I'm saying? What we doing? Like, what I'm saying is, we got $1 million situation. It's multi-million dollars on the floor. Everybody that went and got their money. Everybody. I ain't gotta say no name. Everybody went and got their money. Them niggas can't even fuck with a picture of me. Why I ain't the hottest nigga in the game right now? Not protecting my peace. I had to make sacrifices. I'm literally having to cut people off that I love, and it hurt. It hurt. But they hurting me. And it's hindering me. They pulling me back. It hurt. It's pulling me back. I can't even go to the studio and make a decent song, bro, because I'm worrying about the situation I got going with this person. And then they don't even give a fuck to say, man, let me call my boy and make it at ease so my boy can get to work. Because I can see him where he's supposed to be at in his career. But I know he better than that. I see he making goofy and silly looking decisions. And I know he better than that. Let me take the initiative and say, hey, y'all, man, I need everybody to come here. Let me holler at y'all. Hey, Finesse, respectfully, man, you step in there. I don't have a team. See, I'm just Jordan. Jordan couldn't do it by himself. I got 5 motherfuckers on me dribbling this bitch. And I'm still going in there though. I want all 5 of them. Look at me. Look. I'm still going in there. Come here. I'm still here. Oh, know who I am. One of them. I just ain't got no team.
Look, I think his sentiment is easy to see. I think a lot of people been there where they've been by themselves, or they've been around people, but nobody's with them. And
Right.
then when you get ready to make a left or a right, they're either about to say, "Hey, I got to go back home." They're not ready to make the shift with you.
Right.
And you realize what you got. You can hear like the context of his frustration. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And that's what it's like when you being a simp or a pick me. When you're making all of the decisions that you think the other person would appreciate, and it's never enough.
Right.
It's never enough when it's not coming from the right person.
Mm-hmm. And when you the right person, it could be almost nothing. For somebody that really care about you, really fool with you, it's not all financial. They're gonna put in the effort to make sure you're just as okay. You know what I mean? They're not gonna just take, they're gonna also replenish with what they take, you know? And that's the difference. In relationships, friendships, family, like you said, it's all across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's the way we was parented. I heard a therapist say this like a month ago. She said the way in which we were parented becomes the way in which we partner, you know, and I just thought that was real, like, dang, you know, because of course, you know, we say that all the time, but the way she put it, I'm like, it's just so simple, you know, the way you were parented becomes the way you're parented becomes the way you partner. And it just goes to show that so many people have not been taught the basic communication skills, you know, haven't even been taught how to regulate emotions. But these people keep having children, and it's a generational shift of anger. I love how he said, "I'm not even going to blame it on trauma. You know, I'm just going to blame it on other people's bad mistakes or bad decisions." That's the truth, because in this new, I see you posting a lot too. I don't know her name, but it's a certain psychologist or therapist. She's Black. And
Rachel something, she's the capacity expert,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love how she always brings back to like everything ain't trauma. You know what I mean? Just because you came third in the race that you prepared for, it's not trauma. You just came third. You know, like
life is hard.
Yeah, life is hard. But you know, we're in this platform in this we're at this in this climate in 2025 where any and everything can be perceived as trauma, taken as trauma, because it's my, who are you to tell me how to feel? Who are you to tell me what's big and what's little in my life? And who are you to tell me how to deal with it? You know what I mean? So it's no real growth. Everybody's still hindering themselves, holding on to these words, like you said, you know?
Being crybabies.
Right.
Straight
up.
I
know I grew up, it's just what it was, you know? I didn't have, I'm a big softy. I'm so sensitive still to this day, but I mean, I ain't that sensitive because some stuff, it is what it is.
Yeah, man. Look, you can't have it all, man. And some days it's worse than others. So you can be more appreciative when things happen, you know?
Absolutely.
So, you know, I want to go ahead and get you into the zone. We're gonna you know, let's see here. Put this back the right way. And figure this out real quick.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wanted. I wanted to put it up this your slides so we can get busy, and you could do your thing and educate the masses like you do such a good job at doing.
Thank you.
I consider you one of our master teachers. You know, we get to determine that. You take ownership of your craft and what you care about, and I will be here to flip the slides.
Okay.
So, you know, lead us out.
Yes, we could get started.
Okay. The real pick me. Let's get busy.
Okay, so it just starts off by choosing wrong, period. And now I just want to add, in the Black community, we think that I remember I had this because I'm very like funny, My whole family, we're very sarcastic, we're very funny, we very petty, we like to just play, throw shots. We tell the truth though, so
Yeah.
everything is the truth. Seven of your family members will roast you, and it's just the real, But all we do is we have to accept it. So I was taught accountability very young. My dad, he just like my parents, they so goofy,
Mhm.
So like everything is a lesson, but it's humorous, You just feel like you're in your own Black sitcom growing up. So when we say choosing wrong in the Black community, the first thing we think about is like the hood dude, the one who's been to jail, the one who has multiple baby moms, the one who just can't be tamed, the ladies' man. That's what we think,
Mhm.
But that's not that. I mean, it's real, very real, but it's like a different prototype in our community because the wrong man is it's not always obvious,
Right.
and he's not always violent, and sometimes it's the emotional, unavailable man, the one who's chronically unemployed with no drive because like, why do you want to be in a relationship? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The one who weaponizes charm, or a lot of our brothers that's weaponizing religion right now. The Black woman is God, like she can't do no wrong. You got to lead her.
Oh, that's such a setup.
Right. The one fighting demons. You are
Oh
please.
boy.
Key red flag is like fighting demons. That mean that you gonna be one of the demons he gonna fight. I'm just gonna tell you straight up,
Yep.
The one controlling that's under the guise of protection. We know when men really want the best for us, and we know as women when it's borderline obsession and borderline control. So when we talk about choosing wrong, a lot of us choose with our vagina. I'm just gonna say it, for what it is. We choose out of lust. We choose for the wrong reasons because he got money, because he looked good, because he got nice hair, because he got color. Light skin. Some of us that petty. It is what it is. Imagining how our DNA mixes, not in the sense of genetically, not in the sense of like we talking about looks, the
Mhm.
phenotype, not the genotype, because nobody really cares about the genes. They don't vet properly for that. They just want their kid to be cute or handsome. And like you always say, don't add in the layer of a special needs child or a child that maybe have childhood cancer or childhood illness, because that's gonna be, something else.
So check this out. Earlier you said we partner the way we were parented,
Yeah.
and so I was thinking about that, and I didn't say it before we move forward, but like you can't spell partner without parent, and you can't
Mm,
spell parent without partner.
right. Absolutely.
It's the same letters, it just moved around.
Right.
And
You're right.
and and when you talk about choosing wrong, the other thing I thought about too, sudden, sexually
Right.
disciplined dating decisions ended negatively because I have
Mm,
said multiple times, I believe that women think more with their vagina than men think with their dicks.
that's
Because
true.
if men thought with their dicks at the same frequency and acted on it the way that women do with their vaginas, there would be far more men in jail and dead.
Absolutely. And I feel like for women, it's like there's this sisterhood that we always speak of, right? Number one, they have the most influence, especially on social media. So you're
Mhm.
gonna always have somebody that breastfeeds you lies on the internet. You don't even have to check in with your real friends and family because somebody, somewhere, some group of women all over the country will have your back, and it's always gonna be baby daddy fault, baby daddy fault, baby daddy fault. You could have 5 baby fathers. It's all 5 of their faults. You're never wrong, sis. Like you're not the problem.
You
So
can't
it
be.
goes into this um like you always say, handle me or can't nobody check me. Who gonna check me?
Mhm.
You're not even accountable to your children and the decisions that you make, the bad decisions that you make for the whole household. And it starts with so many people always say, I'm a good mom. I do this for my kids. I do that. I provide. I'm this. I'm that. They daddy not even doing nothing. He don't help. I hate to be the one to tell you, but part of being a good mother, number one, is choosing a good father for your children. And a lot of people don't understand that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Part of being a good mama, you have to choose well. What does that look like? We'll talk about it. Go forward.
Yeah, because it's definitely not at the bottom of the screen.
So I want to address the real pick me. I feel like has the savior complex, and when we talk about the savior complex in women, it's sometimes called the fixer complex. That's when a woman feels a strong, almost compulsive need to save, to rescue, to fix a man. often at the expense of her own well-being. And I want to put a little side note in. A lot of savior complex women, when they say, oh, the real pick me, you're siding with men or you're validating men, you putting women down in order to validate men. When we talk about the savior complex, a lot of women, they have children, and they have these male-centered homes where your children's fathers are not raising them, but your house is always have a man inside of it,
A male-centered home with no father is crazy.
You know what I'm saying? So it's rooted in the belief, whether conscious or subconscious, that her love, her effort, her sacrifice can heal his wounds, solve his problems, or change his behavior. Do you know any women with the savior complex?
Yeah, it's a pretty big demographic of them out there. They they the real simps and the real pygmies.
Absolutely.
They will do anything for male attention.
Right.
Even the content online that talks down on men, it still has men in the center of their content. If you took men out of the conversation of most women, they would still obviously have problems.
Right.
But if most women wasn't talking about men, they wouldn't have nothing to talk about.
Right. That's facts.
They wouldn't be talking about parenting. Let me go ahead.
Yeah. And so I want to talk about where it comes from, because I feel like a lot of in the Black community, the reason why breaking generational curses is so important to me is because it's so much shame and guilt tied to to a lot of our bloodlines, and this shame and guilt comes from, it's not even of us. This is generational trauma. This is historical trauma. So a lot of the shame that we have with our own stories is really our mother's shame, our grandmother's shame, or our shame, our grandfather's shame, our father's shame, that nobody ever really talks about these things. So that's why, for me personally, growing up, knowing four sides of my family, knowing the issues that we suffer from, the alcoholism, all these different ills that, contribute to the destruction of the family, apart from systemic, governmental.
Yeah.
But like
the self-inflicted wounds.
Yes, everything starts from childhood. Everything, whatever you lacked or received, everything starts in childhood. The wounds that we carry, the voids that we feel in our adulthood, the ways in which we cope, the ways in which we communicate, the ways in which we handle our emotion regulation or lack thereof. Going to prison, because if the family has this whole lineage and this reputation of it's not even funny, but my family, I think I mentioned it last time, my great grandmother, my family got kicked out of LA back in the day, LAPD drove my great grandmother and her children to San Bernardino, California, said y'all can't be here no more. That's how much havoc her and her children were causing. And it's nothing I'm proud of. Kicked out by LAPD. Facts,
Evicted from the city?
Evicted from the city of LA. They had to go. They got evicted from the county of LA. They had to go. And the LAPD, the Los Angeles Police Department made sure that they had a ride to the new city, because y'all terrorizers. If LAPD kick you out, you ain't wrapped too tight. You want some demon time. You know what I mean? And for your children, not even of age, to be kicked out of the city, one of the main city of, the culture, the gang activity, all this stuff, for y'all to be kicked out, shit must be real crazy, Right. But it all comes from childhood. So especially many of our sisters, the pattern goes from childhood conditioning. This is growing up having to care for emotionally unavailable or troubled parents. It could teach their daughters that they equate love with self-sacrifice. So a lot of daughters, and I'm going to say, the reason why I got to take daddy off the table, because every Black woman, when their conversation comes in, they take daddy off the table. We'll tell the men. So we're going to say that ain't no fathers in the households. We know that 70% of fathers are doing their thing, they in their children's lives. We know that Black men statistically are the highest and the most active fathers in the house, in the lives of their Black children. So we're going to feed into the narrative of ain't nobody raising their kids. Only the women are raising the children. So when you grow up in your mother's household, you're almost like a mini mama, and you're almost like the fill-in for daddy. So the oldest daughter, typically the oldest black son, the oldest black daughter, speaking of daughter, has this conditioning from mama that she has to sacrifice her childhood and sacrifice her life to make the family unit go okay. Mind you, these are not her children.
Right.
These are not relationships. This is not her household. She's a child.
Right.
But when this comes from childhood, you'll notice that you start shifting and looking for men who are troubled, men who have problems like mama, men who you can save, men who you can fix, men who you can help. You start looking for daddy first and foremost.
Yeah.
You look for that bonding, and so many sisters sacrifice everything, lose their children, lose their minds, go to prison for men because you was looking for a father. You was looking for that guidance. You was looking for that training that you swear you don't want. You was looking to, for somebody to lead you and guide you and protect you that you say you don't want. That's the problem for a lot of black men, as it didn't start with them. So they're getting all that residual hurt from everything she's been through in her life up until meeting them,
Yeah.
Cultural expectations, messages like a good woman stands by her man no matter what, or you can make him better, are heavily pushed in media and family traditions, especially in the black community. We let us say ride or die. Like I said, when he fighting demons, hold him down. Now, any man, especially any black man living in America, he's not going to have an easy life. Whether he got two parents, whether he came from a single mother home, no matter what, it's going to be difficult for him to navigate. So, you're going to have a man and a boy. I guess you can tap on that, because you have the more expertise. What's the, how do you should work with a man instead of like giving up? What's the difference for a woman to be able to decipher that?
When, I would say the first thing that I would notice is like when an inability to challenge. If you default to coddling before you challenge the boy to pick himself up, and work harder, that's a recipe for failure. Being unable to tell a boy no. The same way you just raising him like a girl.
Right.
Everything a girl gets away with, boys get away with. If they, depending on what their positioning is in the birth order. Like if he's the only boy and he was the baby, he gonna get treated way differently than the oldest girl, and that was a daughter that went to college.
Absolutely.
Get handled way differently. So I think that the first sign you got to look at is the degree of entitlement that's being cultivated in a boy. Knowing that somebody's gonna save him, he'll be looking around, knowing somebody's paying him some kind of attention or whatever, and being unwilling to do the hard work that it takes to get to a better desire of what you want.
And I think for a lot of women, another layer that I think we don't talk about a lot, because we always say, oh, absent fathers, that's the reason why we choose wrong. Our daddy didn't show no better. But also I feel like what you just mentioned, the mom coddling the black son, that's why a lot of black men can gravitate towards women who's going to mother them. But also I think a lot of black women, seeing that their brothers do get coddled, they end up doing the same thing. They create the same men that they don't like, with their own sons. Because everybody is wrong. You can see everybody falls, but little man, his hands is clean, That's my baby. I've seen it all my life, So I feel like we just have to cultivate better people and have an expectation of, like you said, every other culture is trained for marriage. They're trained for family. And it's no shame about what their agenda is. They speak it clearly. And some are letting you know from the very beginning that my daughter already promised to that boy over there, this family's son. She's already promised, because some people, they're not going to let their legacy slip from underneath them.
Yep. And that's part of like why your message is so important as it's being delivered to black women specifically, is because black men are the only men that's marrying black women and reproducing with them.
Right.
Like in the larger picture. Yeah, there's some onesies and twosies out there that marry outside the race, but the number is so insignificant that it doesn't make a difference.
Right.
In fact, it shows how insignificant that reproducing with black women is outside of black culture, black American culture. So the question is, what's the benefit of black women arguing with the only men that they can start families with.
Right. There is none.
There's none. You know what I'm saying?
That's why, you know, you want to argue so much, you end up having your kids don't have an active father in the home because you're horrible to live with, you know, hard to get along with, and make everything. A lot of us are super defensive. I notice these things in myself. I'm not going to just sit here and shade and clown. I notice that's why, like, I'm proud of the emotional regulation that I have, you know, because before I even speak it or let something nasty come out, I try to regulate myself first. I was always taught by my mother, when it leaves your mouth, like, don't speak in anger, because when it leaves your mouth, words can never come back, you know. Said You'll calm down, but always remember, like, people never forget how you make them feel. Even if they forget what you said, they won't forget the feeling. Like, dang, she really emasculated me. She belittled me. She humiliated me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Of course, a lot of self-worth struggles. I feel like the most beautiful women are the most insecure at times, you know? And it's a lot of Black women that believe that she's more valuable when she's needed rather than by being simply loved for who they are. That's why a lot of them go into that fixer, you know, Bobisha the Builder, you know? Because it's like, if I take him, this, you know, somebody, I got, mind you, I got multiple degrees. But if I take somebody that is a project, if he can come to my level, like, that's my value as a woman. And it's really the opposite. You know, we try to play the part of a man in our relationships. That's why they never succeed, when we don't tap into and lean on our femininity. You know, it's never going to work trying to be a man and try to build a man.
They don't even know they have leverage. That's the wild part.
Right.
When somebody chooses you, you have the leverage.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean treat people bad when you get the leverage. But
Right.
because they don't know what leverage is, they see it as just being controlling.
Absolutely.
So, yep.
Then we talk about empathy overload. This is like relates to that vicarious trauma I always talk about.
That's what I was thinking about, that vicarious trauma.
You know, so when it's like, it's not even your experience, but because your mama went through it, granny went through it. And this is not, when we say a pattern in the family, it's probably choosing the wrong man. Because let's see what kind of men these were before the children. It's gonna be that irresponsible guy. And it's crazy how Black, like, I noticed this in my own family. I grew up very religious, you know, in church damn near every day with my great grandparents, you know.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed in my own family, because I'm calling like I see it. I don't gotta say nobody else's family. I can tell my own business. In my personal family, we stayed at church. But every young lady that was having a child in my family, none of their baby fathers belonged to the church, if that makes sense. Raised in, bred in the church. Every day. They know we getting the same lessons. You know what kind of godly men to look for? A praying man, our grandfather is there, you know. None of the baby fathers were in the church. I'm talking about Christian girls being taught virtue. Teenage girls, teenage moms, you know, in my family. Nothing against it. I'm just saying this is the mentality because I'm growing up watching it. Like, dang, okay, we in choir practice, you're doing everything of God and to serve God, but you're not choosing a partner or a spouse that's serving God as well. It didn't match. They didn't want that, you know. It's more, it's like a deep compassion that blurs into unhealthy over responsibility when you, because you know the guy that's not in church that drink and smoke. Oh, maybe I could bring him into the house of the Lord. Why is that your issue? Why is that your problem? And why is that your project? You know. So having an unhealthy sense of it's my responsibility and it's my duty to make sure that he's the best he could be and be his therapist and be his all-in-one. That's not realistic, and you're gonna end up. This is how we have bitter women in our community, trying to raise men. You know, picking up where mama left off, picking up where granny left off, and then all you're gonna be left with is being broken and your children, putting that brokenness into your children. It won't ever end well. Never.
It'll sound like this.
But what the hell, boy?
He's going forward. That's the truth. Okay, so how this shows up in relationships. You choose men with major issues like addiction, chronic irresponsibility. Okay, we all know what addiction is, you know. And addiction, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of men, some in our community, they suffer from being lazy. Just that addiction from just being coddled too. Addiction falls under many different umbrellas. We could talk about addiction like literally substance abuse, drug use, but they could be addicted to like a woman taking care of them, you know? When we talk about
That's a
chronic
crazy addiction. That's wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold up. You talking about addicted to being lazy?
Addicted to being lazy.
I
Mama
think
got it. Mama got it. You have to be conscious of what you're doing when you're raising your black son, especially if you're raising him by himself without no men around. When you keep saying mama got it, mama got it, mama got it, he's gonna think every woman has it. He's not gonna know the responsibility that you have to do some shit yourself, you know?
Addicted to being lazy. I'm just trying to think, how would I frame it in the conversation? Hey, yeah, I'm suffering from mental abuse, and like, well, if you don't mind me asking, what's the problem? I'm still recovering. I'm trying to avoid a relapse. What are you recovering from? I was an addict to being lazy.
Man, it's real. Like I've seen a lot with my eyes, you know, in my short time here.
Hold up, man. We're gonna have to find a way to turn the corner with this one right here, because like you know how messed up people actually are, that they can frame that into a reality.
Yeah, you absolutely right.
Like, how do we get here? How are we able to frame being coddled as a man into an addiction? But you go ahead. Hey, I'm gonna go off camera for a minute, but I'm right here. But keep talking, Lord.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so then we talk about chronic irresponsibility. This falls under the umbrella in the guise of like intentionally choosing somebody that has children with multiple women. You know, I personally, I mean, to each their own, to each her own. But if I feel like if he's never been married or he's never, like, beware of the stories that say we weren't together, me and my baby mom weren't together, or if it's multiple women, ask them questions, because what you'll find out is that this man, his chronic irresponsibility is not only in his life, but it's also in family life. Like, he's not even a responsible father. He's not a responsible person. So you don't want to sign yourself up to mess with somebody that's chronically irresponsible, don't have life figured out, don't have a plan, just going with emotions, just creating life everywhere, brokenness after brokenness, not fully showing up. That's not your project to take. Emotional unavailability. I think this is one of our favorite types of men, especially in the Black community when it comes to our women, because the men that are available, the men that do show up for us, the men that do like us, they still sitting in the DMs from 4 years ago. Like I said, you know, we like the men that we have to chase. We like the men that don't show us attention. We like the men that don't show us affection. We like the men that we have to beg, that we have to plead with. And it all comes back to our performing for our mother. You know what I mean? As children. Abusive patterns, because y'all always say that you need a man to handle you and who gonna check you. You like to fight and you like to tussle. And until you in a relationship with Mike Tyson, they realize you're a woman. You know what I mean? But a lot of our sisters, they like them edgy men. They like men that don't have emotional regulation. They like men that argue with them. It's like a Jody and Yvette. It's like a turn on. The foreplay is the argument. You know, that's the build up. Men that seem like projects or someone because they see they just want the right love. You think like we're treating our men like our children, like, oh, he just needs the right love. And it's crazy, like a lot of male-centered mothers, they say like, I'm not affectionate, or I don't. They're so mean to their children, but so nice to men. You know, you men like, oh, he just needs love. He just needs me to be right or die. He just needs that support, while raising children that don't get any of those things. You know what I'm saying? This is the community we coming from, backwards, over functioning. You know. You take on everything. You take on the role of therapist, his mother, his financer, his life coach, everything except an equal partner. And this is when the envy starts, trying to perform for his love, trying to keep up at it, but acting like it doesn't bother you. And one thing I could say, women, they'll do the man that they really like, the man that they really, and it's typically the man that don't want him, or the man that just want a sexual relationship with them. He don't have to do nothing for them,
There are rules for that guy.
He doesn't have to do anything. For the man that the Black woman likes, when she requiring all this stuff, you need to make this much, you need to look like this and that. The Black man that she like, he don't have to have none of that. Straight, swung.
All you got to do is have.
All he requires is a heartbeat. That's it.
Yeah, You just need some extra thrust and some.
That's it. That's all. Tolerating bad behavior because she believes that he's been through so much, or he just needs a little more time to change. Now, this is where I always say when I have my conversations about vetting for your child's father, this is where a lot of Black women don't want to admit that they saw the signs before the child ever was born. They love to say he changed when the baby got here. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and say every man not gonna change. There's some men that do perform as well. They look like the perfect person and they do everything right. And it's been time, 5 years. But this is like a very small percentage. And even that man, he showed signs before. I'm talking about the mass majority of women accepting that bad behavior, because 9 times out of 10, the reason why y'all do, you love to say my baby daddy not this, my baby daddy that, not that. He is your reflection. You were not the best person either. That's why he's your baby father. Let's be clear. You was not on no high horse. You was not. Whether you was in that same category, that mind frame of like a lot of couples turn up together. They party all every day is a party. Then mama got to sit on her ass when she get pregnant. Dad not stopping because you already knew my lifestyle. So now she's envious. Now she's sad. Now she's upset. Now she's frustrated. But this was your whole personality before you got pregnant.
This is why I say you can't meet somebody on a higher level of self-esteem.
Absolutely.
You're only meeting your equal. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. At your level of self-esteem and understanding, when you choose to reproduce or engage with somebody, they have to reflect something that's inside of you.
Right.
In order for you to get along. Like, how else do you relate?
Absolutely. And, bringing in that trauma bond, even if it's relating to unhealthy, relating to each other in an unhealthy space, in an unhealthy relationship, because maybe both of y'all households had some sort of domestic violence, or both of y'all households didn't have a father. So you guys are relating on those, when you vet, you tell your stories, you say things about yourself, and you think like, oh, okay, he didn't have a dad too. So, we relate. It's never really like the core values that you're relating to. It's always the trauma you're relating to. And that's how you find yourselves in these negative relationships, creating children that are going to be in negative environments. It becomes more somebody that you knew you should have cut off the first couple months becomes somebody that you got to spend the rest of your life knowing because you didn't want to end it. You know what I mean? So being self-conscious of the fact that this is not for me. The sex might be fire, but I don't want this nigga in my life for the rest of my life. I don't want this woman in my life for the rest of my life,
Mm-hmm.
Neglecting herself. Now this, like I said, her needs, her dreams, and her mental health take a back seat because now you're so focused on the next human being. Mind you, we're all able to have free choice, free will, make our own decisions and things like that. So you're being unrealistic with yourself, thinking that you can actually put your life on the back burner and think this person is going to praise you for doing anything. Because a lot of people going to say, I didn't ask you to. And that's the coldest slap in the face. That's the coldest wake-up call when somebody say, I didn't ask you to. And then when you look back on your relationship, you're like, well, damn, they didn't. But they didn't mind taking. But they really didn't ask. Like I was just doing it freely. And we can say it's out of love, but it's out of lack of boundaries. It's out of lack of self-worth, Yeah.
It's manipulative, of course, but ultimately, if you're performing for someone that doesn't respect your performance, doesn't reciprocate, they didn't ask you to do that because you're not doing it for the same reasons that they value.
Right.
So they just value their outcome. If your outcome is tied to perform for this person so you can win their admiration, good luck.
Good luck. Put them boots on the ground and good luck,
Yeah.
Mistaking dependency for love. So when we talk about codependency in the Black community, a lot of Black women suffer from that because now you've seen an independent mama. Now you might have that programming, but when you fall in love, it's a different story. That's why your mom and you be at odds so much when you finally got a man, or you're a young girl and a boy walking home from school and mama getting mad now. You know what I mean? So while they preach independent, be independent, have your own. This is why a lot of us slip into that codependent because the expectation that your mama gave you and reality, two different things. So you expected not to really love them. You expect not to care, but somebody really take care of you, whether you right or wrong, whether you keep him, whether that's your husband, whether that's just an experience for you. But if this person really treated you well and he is everything mama said he wasn't, that's when your mind starts to shift, you know, about everything you were taught. So when you have a dependency and you mistake it for love, you have to know how to be healthy. You have to know how to get into relationships with black men, because you'll always chase. Like you say, you'll always perform. This man's reliance on you makes it feel like intimacy. But it's really imbalanced, because no man really gonna rely on his woman for different things, different needs. Absolutely, that's why we are equally yoked. We, you know, what the man, we're yin to you're yin to each other's yang. What a man lacks
instead of competitive.
Absolutely. But if you are his everything, you making your whole life, everything that you do is about this man. I don't know if you ever seen this clip. It was on social media maybe last year, but it was like a black man. He was in line somewhere, a busy building, some kind of building, but his girl was with him. He was just telling her off, and somebody was recording me, and she was like, "I can't focus. I can't even go to school because I'm thinking about you, wondering what you're doing." You know, he told her off. He was like, "Girl, if you don't go to school, like, stop worrying about me. Worry about your life." You know, this is sickening, and it's like, it's really, like I said, dangerous when you have children and you're dependent on other people. They're dependent on you for their basic needs, for their love, for their childhood, for their safety, for their protection, and you dependent on different men. You don't want to have the conversation with their fathers. You don't want to be a part of their fathers' lives. You hate them niggas, but you depend on a stranger for their love, and your children are learning these things. You know, you could go forward.
All right.
So red flags to look for. Consistently chasing men who are in crisis. You know, I think that's really heavy for us.
Right there. Hold up. Mm-hmm. I wrote something a while back, said if they need you, they gonna bleed you. Mm-hmm. Need comes from deficit. Want comes from power. Right. So when somebody wants you, it's because they had an option. They chose you. But if they need you, they gonna tap you dry.
Right.
Because it's coming from a deficit. They're already doing bad. So chasing men in crisis, that's right in line with that.
And in crisis could be like, you know, unemployed, addicted,
jail.
Absolutely. Oh yes. And y'all will go, you know,
they got TV shows for this stuff.
A lot of my beautiful sisters, you know, they go on the prison website and look for who they want by a picture. Like, don't even know what the record is like. Just because he fine, that's who they want. You know what I mean?
Love After Lockup is a TV show that's based off of this right here.
Crazy.
All pick-me's all the time.
Absolutely. Don't know this man from paint and bringing him into your home with your children. You don't even know how. If you ain't dating nobody on the outside, don't even do it. You know. Emotionally unstable or just not ready for life's responsibilities. That's the ones that a lot of us, you see this picture right here. I did this for a reason. Because, you know, she matching her red flag too, but, you know, you're looking for a place to decorate it. Instead of pausing and taking caution to the wind, you looking, where did this flag gonna look at this house? You know, where can I put this? Let's go with my red dress, my red lipstick, you know, like you ready to dress it up. And, you know, feeling responsible for his growth, believing that if I just love him enough, he'll change. That's a red flag. Because if the man that you want and the man that's healthy for you is already going to have a program of his own, and you're going to kind of merge into his life, you know? It's not going to be the other way around. He's not going to follow you and, you know, merge into your life. It's going to be you assimilating, and not in a bad way, but assimilating into his life, because it's ultimately his program. You know what I mean? It is what it is. That's the truth. So, if you're thinking that no matter his flaw, well, I'm not gonna say flaw, because flaws we can change, we can work on. That's just who he is, his characteristic, who his being is. If it's always dependent upon you, and you're the one that has to fix things, and you're the one that has to get it together, that's not somebody you want to pursue a relationship with, let alone a family with.
Yeah.
Ignoring your own needs, like I said, skipping your own self-care, delaying your goals, or enduring mistreatments to keep from giving up on him. You already gave up on yourself. So if you're no good to you, how can you be good in a relationship, you know? Want to make sure that you always taking care of you. And a lot of men, they know who to eat alive. They can smell the blood. They smell you when you desperate. They smell desperation, you know? That's why I think I don't know. It's just like they know who's desperate, and men smell it a mile away. They know what single mama whose kids they can prey upon. They know when you are a man, such a woman. They know when you're going to put them above your children. They know.
Look,
that's why it won't last.
Look, everything you naming, shoot, you cooking right now.
Then making excuses for that bad behavior, blaming his past, blaming stress, or blaming trauma for why he lies, cheats, or neglects his responsibilities. You acting like his mama that raised him. He just went from mama's house to yours.
Yep.
If you can't be a girl's girl, you can't believe in sisterhood. You can't possibly believe, we kumbaya. And if you allow men to have passes in your life, whether your son, whether your brothers, whether your own father, and whether you're the man that you land with, you're not a woman's woman and you're not a girl's girl. Being more of a coach than a partner. Spending more time advising, motivating, or managing him than simply enjoying him. Like I said, this is role reversal. Your man's supposed to be the one managing, guiding, protecting, having that provision over your life and your relationship. It shouldn't be you doing that heavy lifting. Yeah, you're going to be equal effort and you're going to be a part of it, but the team, you're the teammate. You're not the captain. You know what I mean? You're the player. You're not the captain. You're the player. You're not the coach. So if you find yourself having to do the leadership position in somebody that you want to lead you, that's a big red flag. He gonna take the back. He would definitely take the back seat and allow you to do your thing.
Yep.
Downplaying her frustration, telling family and friends that he's trying when she's secretly drained and resentful. Only you gonna get fed up. Your mama, your daddy, and them, they not living with him, they not sleeping with him, your sisters, your brothers. If you want to keep performing for this love, if you want to keep lying for this love, if you even have to, now, nobody's saying tell all your business, nobody's saying tell your business, period. But if you have to make him something he's not and make him sound like something he's not, that's the biggest risk. That's like one of the number one indicators that this is not the person for you.
Mm-hmm.
Confusing dependency with love. That's feeling more secure when he needs you to survive, even if it's unhealthy. You feel secure when he needs you. You feel secure when you handed him money. You feel secure when you can control the car that he's driving. That's what brings you security because you feel like you're helping him level up. When in reality, it's all detrimental for your own well-being because you're trying to save a grown man. Difficulty letting go. Oh, sorry?
They don't have a clue.
Right. Difficulty letting go. This is staying in harmful relationships out of fear that he'll fall apart without you. You don't mind that you don't lost 20 pounds or gained 20 pounds. You don't mind that your edge is falling out. You don't mind that your children are not doing well in school. You don't mind that you let the devil in just so you can say that you have a warm body at night. You know what I mean? You don't want him to fail. You don't want him to fall. You don't want to give up on him. But here you are in a household with children, and you don't care about their well-being. But this grown, capable, able-bodied man comes before them. This is why a lot of y'all kids is cutting y'all off. Because they couldn't see their real fathers. They couldn't have a relationship with their real daddies, but you put a whole bunch of men that wasn't their fathers before them. We got to make it make sense,
Yep.
Taking pride in that struggle, like we talked about, romanticizing him, the idea of being the one who never gave up on him, that romanticization of like, oh, ride or die, I'm the one. And then the pattern of our mother and our partners, realizing that you treat men more like your sons than equals. That's where that comes in, that household breeding. Because a lot of mamas also said don't trust men, but they always had a household full of them, Mm-hmm. Don't trust them, don't lay with them, get your own. But mama will have the pattern. When you look at your mother and her dating history, mama always had a man. Now when they get to this big old age and they say, oh, we know better, we do better, know a lot, it's just very bitter. And they don't want to see you end up with what they couldn't get. You can go forward.
All right. Here comes baby.
Here comes baby. After all that shit we just talked, we done went through pages and pages, but y'all still end up with a baby. Still. Seen every flag he had to offer. You seen all these patterns, but here comes baby. So now this is when you realize that I'm going to be the primary parent. This is really my life now. And this is where the reality replaces that fantasy. Instead of I can fix him, it becomes I have to carry him and the baby now.
Mm-hmm.
This is your shift. This is why a lot of moms, by the time the baby shower is there, they're there alone. It looks like their wedding. They're marrying their child at this point, That's why when a lot of Black children are born, their parents are single. Because you realize I can't take the burden of you and another human being. It was all fun and games until you had a kid. This is why it's important. primary parent by default. I just said this. She ends up doing all the emotional, financial, and physical labor for the child. But you did all the, let me just make it clear. You did all the emotional, all the financial, and physical labor for the child's father. So I don't know why you think a baby gonna shift him to be like, oh, I got y'all. Baby, no. You might as well let him be a stay-at-home daddy at this point. You know what I'm saying? Because ain't nothing gonna change. My mom, the things like, you know, this is why I'm this age without any children, you know. My mom, her biggest, like, I guess from junior high school all the way through high school, her biggest thing was like, a baby don't change no man, and a baby don't keep no man, you know. You got to find a man who wants to be a father, who wants to be a family man. You can't think that you're gonna tame the wildest thing out there. That don't matter to him. Find someone who desires fatherhood, because the baby, you're gonna be sad. You and your baby gonna be crying together. You know what I mean? All hours of the night. Increased resentment. This is where we start to see what felt like a loving sacrifice before now feels like an unfair and exhausting burden. Now your eyes opening up. You know, now you're getting wiser. Now you feel envious and jealous, like, and upset with him. This is where you start to hold that resentment. This is where the that parental alienation. This is where those thoughts come in, because I'm struggling. I'm going through this pregnancy alone. I'm getting this weight. I'm going through all these things, like I always say and I always want to mention, because this is how serious it is. The medical field to pregnant Black women is like the police to Black men. They don't care. So you thinking if you're walking in there and you're single by yourself, you think you're going to get the best treatment? Or if you're walking in there with your man, your husband, that can advocate for you. You want to make sure that you sign, like I said, you sign your children up for a good life. They start by who you choose to lay down with and make them with. It feels like a burden now, because this is the smoke clearing, you know, the butterflies turning into diarrhea now. Now you realize, oh shit, like, it's just me. It's just me. This baby gonna sink or swim because of me. Because the man has always been unreliable. But you know, we don't want to have these conversations, because this right here, too much accountability for most of us. Too much accountability to say that I could have prevented this, I could have stopped this. Even if you fucking with a messed up person, if you laying down raw with a fucked up person and you know, I'm in love, but he ain't never gonna get right. Why not get some type of birth control? You can love who you want, but why do you have to make the decision for children that don't have no choice to be here? That damn, this is our daddy moment for real. Like this who you chose. All right. Loss of an identity, because now you feel like you're just the mother and provider, while he remains carefree or inconsistent. It's what you signed up for. Can't be mad what you signed up for. Nope. If you know you got credit cards, you signed up for credit cards and you maxed them out, you can't be mad when the bill comes, like clockwork. Yeah, you gotta be like, yeah, I did apply for those credit cards. I did max them out. Now I do gotta pay all that back. Like, that's exactly what you do. You knew he didn't have all his life together to begin with. You still laid with him. And now this is the repercussions. This is the consequence. Financial pressure. Now, if he was an unstable person before, she may have to overwork or take on debt to keep things afloat. You already had everything handled. You already lied to your friends and family like he was handling stuff and you paying most of the things anyway. So now when reality comes and chickens are coming home to roost and there's 3 of y'all instead of 2, absolutely. You're going to feel overworked and you're going to feel like you have to take on so much. This is why they call Nate. You know what I mean? Set it off reference. Got to supplement that income. Isolation. Friends and family may say like, well, you know what he was like, leaving her feeling blamed and unsupported. But I feel like this is accountability, because I feel like families do give you the warning signs. Families do see what you can't see. Families they don't have those blinders on that you may have being in love with somebody. So they're going to let you know. This is what we was telling you about. You can't really feel isolated. That's when, and a lot of Black women, they don't like the feeling of shame. You know, they don't like the feeling of being wrong. They'll fight a point of being right, even when they'll fight the wrong point just to make noise and like not
pure ego. Pure ego.
Yes. So you thinking that your family's blaming you, thinking that your family's being mean, but they just being honest, saying that we told you this, you know. So you can feel blamed, but you can still ask for support. And then they don't want to ask for support because they feel like, oh well, I'm gonna do it by myself since my mama said this, since my daddy said this. You know what I'm saying? Now you don't want to ask. Now you feel like you said, it's still ego within needing the village. You still have an ego,
right?
Emotional crash. This is what we've been noticing. Come on, Andrea, that's the truth. The same thing that attracts you to him is the same thing that you hate later down the line. It's like this. Me and my sisters use this analogy. Like you meet somebody, he's so funny, he have you laughing, you know, and then like 5 years later, you be like, damn, everything's funny to you. So everything's a joke. But this who you love, you know. The same thing with a woman, like you know, whatever.
You don't take nothing seriously.
You know, like, and then the emotional crash. This is what we've been seeing. What we've been seeing for a long time. That emotional crash is starting to come up with Black mothers. It's all over social media. Realizing that they can't save them while raising the child may trigger depression, anxiety, or hopelessness. You know, this is why a lot of Black mothers have been unaliving their children. The children have been unaliving their mothers because this household is very, it's tight and it's strict. You know, this household is very strict, and these young moms is crashing out. That's why, you know, they going on. They love to say they crash out, mama. And like for me, I've always known men. Like my dad, when I was a little girl, he would say like, "We all dogs. Find the one you like and train that motherfucker." Like that's just my dad, you know. So like. I've always known Black men to be like the ones with the ego, the ones with the pride, the ones that beat their chest. That's me. That's how I was raised, you know? So kind of I'm used to the Black men being a crash house, not in a bad way, you know? My house is like the fun house. You know, my dad always had his homeboys. Like I grew up like a really good like upbringing, you know, seeing just real stuff. So I see my dad and his homeboys, they having a few drinks. Two of them too drunk. They getting fight. Like, you know, they just, nigga, what? Pushing each other down. It's a big old thing. They take like 2-second fight. Or like, you know, 2-minute little fight. Now they friends, you know, everything's fine. You know, by the time they leave, it's cool. Like that's what when I say emotional crash outs, they come back though, you know. When it comes to a mother, the one that's setting the pace, the one that's setting the tone for the household, especially if you're single, you cannot really afford to be an emotional crash out. No. When you're the only person that these kids are dependent on.
Man.
If you are with an emotional crash out, and like you said, that's your equal, that's who you chose. 9 times out of 10, y'all are mirrors of yourself. So, like I said, one parent got to grow up, and it's gonna be mama, because who's the baby growing in? Your body, your choice, right? Your consequence as well. We don't want to talk about that part.
Nope.
And always wanted to rescue, always wanted to have that role of survival. You shift from trying to help him to simply trying to keep the household functioning without him. And I'll say that again. You shift from trying to help him to now your household becomes, you have to go into survival mode to make your household function without him. Initially, the lame one, you said he was lame. Oh, he's too nice, or when you go to childhood, if you were ignored by your parents, if you were rejected by your parents, if you didn't receive that healthy love by either one of your parents, that man in a DM that's consistent, that's gonna look like a loser. Because you're not used to having attention. You're not used to nobody seeing you for you. You're not used to nobody caring about you for you. If you're a performative child in a Black household, you're gonna chase the person that you want to see you. That's why, you know, you ever heard that saying, love who love you? It's the truth. Yeah. And it's not like, oh, second choice. Oh, I'm gonna choose. No, you love somebody that sees you for you. Love who loves you. You ain't gotta chase nobody. Anybody that cares about you, you will never have to perform. You know what I mean? Anybody who loves you, you'll never have to perform. You being you is just enough. You're enough. You don't have to do nothing for that love. Just be you. And, you know, the rescue, like I said, you can go. The main theme of why we keep choosing. Why do we keep choosing the same type of men? Can you give me the statistics for a second? How many percentage of women have, 80% of men have a baby with who?
80% of children are born out of wedlock to 75% of unmarried women. And 75% of unmarried women are reproducing with 15% of unmarried men. Mm-hmm. That's a 5-to-1 ratio.
Right.
Both the unmarried woman and the unmarried men are raised by unmarried women themselves, because single parents raise children that become single parents.
Absolutely. So when we talk about why we keep choosing them, this is generational trauma. Yep. He reminds me of my dad, you know, and everybody always says, whether, like I said, this is why it's important for Black sisters to make sure that your children have that relationship with their father. Because this same man that you're going to prohibit your young daughter from seeing, she's going to go find anyway when she's of age. And I'll say that again. The same type of person that you don't want your daughter to have a relationship, she will find him anyways out there in the world. So he reminds me of my dad, whether the addiction, whether the anger, whether the communication style, something. Even looks, girls gonna date their dad. Like they're gonna date their dad, whether he's a good man or he ain't shit. They're gonna go find it's familiar. They're gonna go find him. Fear of being alone. At least he's somebody. That's that. Now I don't know what. I guess that's my mama generation. That now, it's a little side note because Betty Wright was always placed in my house. My mother, my dad, they loved Betty Wright. My whole family. And I remember when I was a little kid when she was doing her little 10-minute talk before she sing. And when I remember when she was like, having a piece of man is better than having no man at all. I was like probably 5 or 4, and I didn't even know, couldn't even process it. But that just. I know my face was just like, no, I knew that was wrong. I was earning my man while I was earning my man. Just different things that she said. It's just that you know me and I don't know you. Baby, you don't know me neither. You don't know me because that'll never be me, A piece of man, like, letting your children know that you can't even be fulfilled. That you would take somebody, that you'll take anybody. And like 9 times out of 10, your children will be preyed upon in your care, mama. So you're just taking at least he's somebody, and you bringing anybody in your household with your children just because he's somebody. This is why so many of your black kids don't speak to you, because you just let anybody in their house.
Mm-hmm.
That fixer mindset, believing that love will heal brokenness. If you think that love will heal brokenness, you, my friend, you're the first broken person. Brokenness not fix brokenness. If you feel like you could tape somebody back together, piece them back together, you need help yourself. You're broken yourself, because you should know that can't nobody fix nobody. If they don't want to change for themselves, if there's no way you gonna do it for them.
Yeah, I saw a post today, last couple of days, gotten a lot of reactions, and it was a guy saying that he's depressed. Do you know where I can find some quality women to be in a relationship with? And I said, the last thing you need is a relationship.
Absolutely.
You're opening the door for a nasty trauma bond, and somebody's going to manipulate you, and you're going to probably manipulate them.
Absolutely.
Mm-mm.
Like I said, that low self-worth masked as loyalty. You want to talk about ride or die, but it's culture going wrong, because nobody that loves you, this goes for any relationship you're in, but especially your intimate relationship. Nobody that truly loves and care about you will ever have you compromising yourself, will ever have you not looking yourself, will ever have you skipping on your own goals. Nobody that loves you will ever have you looking anything other than your best self. They will always inspire the growth in you, always inspire the change in you. If you're with somebody and they deplete you of everything you have, like I said, without replenishing anything, that's the biggest indicator that you have low self-worth. Because loyalty is reciprocation, and loyalty, that's actually like a positive trait. Yep. So if somebody really loyal to you, look up that word. They're gonna make sure that you're your best self. They're not gonna ever take from you. They're never not gonna deplete you. A truth check. We don't pick men who are good for us. We pick men who validate the broken parts inside of us, and that's just the truth. The men who are good for us, we gotta actually do the work to keep those kind of men. We gotta actually learn how to mind our manners and adjust our attitudes and grow and not feel comfortable and actually be his intellectual equal. So it's safe. What Miss Tiffany Marie a few episodes back said, we choose safe men. Yep. And safe men, they're not always the best choice, if at all, Yep. It's not a good choice for us. Being safe in your dating life, not stretching yourself. We always want to talk about what a man should come with and what he should have. You should not want to be a woman that's only desire is to choose somebody safe, not wanting to grow. Yeah. Choosing that you know that you're better than, or you can run over, or you got more than. Why? It's out of ego. You want to control some shit.
You're rigging the relationship.
Absolutely. You can go forward. Now, the biggest thing, my main concern, of course, always, is how it affects our babies.
Yeah.
When you pick a broken man, you're just not hurting yourself. You're setting your child up to inherit confusion and pain. This is why so many of our children are unregulated. So many of our children are struggling. So many of our children have behavioral issues, have mental health issues, because y'all don't really, y'all got to do your research on nature versus nurture. So if their father never around, that doesn't mean that his characteristics still won't fester in his child. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you setting them up to inherit confusion and pain when they don't know who they are, when they don't know who their people are, when they're not connected, when they're not having those first primary attachments to their families and both sides, not just your family. You and your mama and all the women in your family, y'all may be important, but also their father's family is equally as important as your mom, as you and your mama. You know, people love, like in the Black community, it's like this running joke. I don't know if you heard it, and it's something that 2-parent households we really don't. You know, it's like the single parent joke because they be like, oh, everybody know their mama side, but nobody know their daddy side. And when I have a son, I hope that his baby mothers bring him around. I hope I'm not the grandma that can't see her grandkids. We all have that joke, like that. So many people in the Black community don't know that they don't know their father's side. That's not cute. That's not cool at all. You know, you setting them up to inherit confusion and pain. Everybody deserves to know where they're from, right, wrong, and different. I don't care if my dad was a crackhead and my mom was a prostitute. I want to know those people. It may not be the greatest upbringing. I deserve to know those people until I choose not to know them. And the child should have a choice, because we don't give children credit for being as smart, as resilient, and as intelligent as they are. They read the room very well, very young, very early. Our Black children absorb everything. May not be able to articulate it, but it will come out in their behavior. It will come out in the way that they're showing up. Kids grow up in homes where their parents aren't aligned. And by this, I mean sometimes they're not even together. You go to one household, they teach you a whole set of things. You come back to this household, it's all different. Sometimes they're not aligned to the point where your dad's not allowed to be around. Your mom don't care about being aligned with him. Constant arguing or emotional distance in the household, the silent treatment, your kids gonna mimic everything you're teaching. Toxic communication and bad role modeling, failed or absent co-parenting, the emotional toll on the children. We wonder why mental health is, Black children are being diagnosed with more mental health disorders, as well as their Black mothers are being diagnosed with more mental health disorders. Why? Why isn't it saying Black men being more diagnosed? Because Black women and her children are primarily in the household together.
Yep.
Even if a child, like I say, the same vicarious trauma, how do we know this child is really depressed? Yeah, we could take them to the doctor, get the terms, but get tested and see. But in a lot of households where mama's running it by herself, how we don't know that this is mama's depression? You know what I mean? Our children are getting misdiagnosed because a lot of women want that check, that supplemental income. I'm being honest. And they will let their kids be a government experiment rat.
And then you got it on the other side where they're not being diagnosed at all and they know they got an issue.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So they're raising their children undiagnosed.
Absolutely.
And creating the very problem that they have in their children, because at a certain age, children are very malleable. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So everything you put into them is true. If you tell them they can run across a busy highway at 6 years old and not worry about getting run over with some kind of positive affirmation, that's probably a lie. You could chase that squirrel through 6 lanes of traffic at 80 miles an hour. It's okay. They'll stop for you. And they say, nobody stops for little Jimmy.
Right.
Little Jimmy's out of there because his mama said he can do anything he want to do.
Absolutely.
And we need to be honest about that. You can't do everything you want to do. If you was bad at math the majority of your life, don't wait until you're older and less physically fit to decide that you want to become an astronaut. As a matter, you've been bad at math, you ain't been working out.
Right.
47. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm saying there's a select few people that make it, that field of thought even tangible.
Absolutely.
You've got to be wary of old men and young men sports.
That's very true.
Like, what did they do to stay there?
Absolutely. We have this emotional toll on our Black babies in the form of anxiety, trust issues, emotional withdrawal. This is why at school your children don't show up and they're not performing well at school, because so much is going on in the household. They get in lack of sleep because you up all night arguing. You know what I mean? They're not getting nourished meals because every other meal is McDonald's. So, they're not growing. They're not getting the things that they need. Like I said, statistics, tooth decay, all these things that they that's happening before they even get a chance to perform and show up at school, they're not able to do. our little babies are carrying so much of our bad decision making. They got to deal with it. They got to suffer for it, and they get in all the repercussions from all of our decisions, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the cycle of trauma. Our kids learn what they live. If dysfunction is normal, they either repeat it or they run from it.
Well,
you could go for it.
That was the last slide right there. So
absolutely. So, you know, just reiterating all of this, like, we could just say sex, you know. I was always, like I said, I have a religious background, so sex was always taught to us something as husband and wife. Even though my parents wasn't married, I'm like, I ain't even married, like, you know. But they wanted to really give us that message of like it's in a committed relationship, you know. Because my parents got married when I was 14 years old. That was even pivotal for me. Like, I think it was the perfect time because I wanted that, you know, seeing my mom come down the aisle, seeing my dad make those promises to her, like, that's what I wanted. It was very important for me to make sure that I wanted my family. So I'm happy that I was a part of their wedding, you know. But even before that, I was always taught that sex should be in a committed relationship. It was never about, I was taught these lessons while also seeing members of my family not following those lessons. Mm-hmm. And I'm the type of person, I don't have to touch the fire to know it's hot. I can see it and I can see that it's hot, you know. I didn't want to be that way. Like, I was very sexually disciplined. I still am. Like, I'm really able to. There's been periods in my life when I went like years without anything. If I'm not in a relationship, I don't want to do that. Like, it's just, I know where I wanted to see my life. I know what goals I had, and even my sexual discipline had to match those goals. You know, because you can say, "Oh, I want to get to this place. I want to graduate. I want to do this." But if you want to have hot girl summers and you sleeping with people that you don't know, those plans might be derailed. I never wanted to derail my life plans being irresponsible sexually, you know. Always being proactive with my own body, being proactive with my birth control, being proactive with anything that I decided to do with my body. I didn't want a man, even, I love black men very much, but I don't feel like I wanted to give the power for a man to decide what my choices were. I'm the advocate for my body. I'm going to be the advocate for my family. And I got to make sure that I'm taking care of first. I take care of me first. I get my life together first, you know? It was a study that just came out that said that Black women are starting to have children later in life. And they said the average age is between 39 years old. And, you know, while we always want to throw shots and throw jokes on them, you know, that them eggs dried up, this, that, and the third, I feel like it's actually like a beautiful thing. Because what you know at 40 or 39, you know so much more than you knew at 15, you know? So much more that you knew at 20. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to have a dad there, you know?
I've had conversations with some friends of mine that said, you know, waiting till they were 40, 45 actually gave them the best foundation to be good fathers. And truthfully, if Black people have historically had a late start in economics and everything else that they would, you know, trying to be better and move forward in life, then you probably need to have a late start too. Well, maybe a late start with kids is not a bad thing. Let me say it that way.
Absolutely.
Of course, the risk of pregnancy goes up, but everything else is a high risk before then too. You know, so and on top of that, ain't nobody listening anyway. You know, in January they're talking about we're practicing 4B. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
And then now women are already saying all year have been saying, how come the guys won't talk to us anymore?
Right.
We did a couple of episodes on what women talking about there's a male loneliness epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
No, we don't believe you.
Absolutely. Like I said, it's a male loneliness epidemic, but they're not pulling up for the brunches for y'all.
Yeah.
Done. No.
Come on.
I just think that because, you know, a lot of my content I try to focus on, like I always say, I get the backlash. Not so much no more, which I'm seeing a shift, which I'm very appreciative on my content, you know, because it's like, if you want to keep hurting, you want to keep denying, you want to keep, as long as we deny, like I say, if you have a problem, if we have something on a curse, we got to change it to name it. As long as we keep denying that there's anything going on or anything we're struggling with, we're putting off our own healing, not only for ourselves but for our family.
Yep.
So as long as you want to deny and stiff arm the healing, you're gonna keep suffering for it. What I love about these new age children is that they truly see things for what they are. Like, they're tired of not having a dad. They tired of having to deal with an emotionally unstable mom. They're tired. That's why a lot of these children are cutting their mothers off. You know, we're seeing a shift in young people that really want to know their history. They want to know where they come from. They want to know their backgrounds. And so they find out these stories about their families, and it's not making the family look good. You know, we got to be really the way in which you show up now. What is the legacy you're gonna leave? And like I said, I'm not talking to nobody that don't want children, but it's like the most unsexually disciplined people. You guys have all the children, most of the children. So it's like, what kind of legacy do you want to leave for your bloodline, for your family? Is it gonna be like, I know family recipes, you know, from my grandmother to my mother to me, even though I never met my grandmothers. But like, what traditions? Is it just gonna be twerking? Like, is it just gonna be degenerate behavior? It's just gonna be, you know, you being on baddies? That's what your children gotta see. That, you know, that's the family history and legacy you want to leave. We always talking about a man, like, be there for your family and make sure they step up. What about women having children, black sisters having children, and you're not leaving a good legacy either? You're a tormentor. You're a bully. You're evil. Your house has so many men here. Is it a strip club or what? You know, you're getting your bills paid and funded by so many different men. Your children are susceptible to abuse because you don't know how to make good decisions. What about you having a good legacy for your family? So many grandmothers can't see or raise their grandkids because their kids don't mess with them, don't fool with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's your legacy on the world? What are you gonna leave? Are you gonna leave a stain on the world? Are you gonna leave, like, as a woman? Then you can say that you don't want to be, you don't want to be a mama, you want to be auntie. That's why I'm not talking. I'm talking about the women that, like you said, you hate black men. You're a misandrist, but you continue to lay with them. You continue to give them children, but you can't stand them. I'm talking to y'all. What's the legacy? What do you want to leave for your children? It start with procreation. Mating with somebody. The thing is, I have had friends, I've had people that I've known, women that I've known, and they'll tell me everything about this man, how they feel. Like, if it's they in love, or even if he need to work on this, he need to do this. My word of advice, I'd be like, just tell him. Everything you just said to me, you can't speak that to him, but you had a kid with him. You laid with him. You can't even speak your heart. Quicker to open your body, like, you know, open your legs and give them your body than to speak your heart, speak your truth. That's the problem. We in ego so much that it's detrimental to our whole family. And I'll say that again. The black woman is in her ego, the ego bag. Fuck the money bag. We're in our ego bag so heavy that it's affecting our whole family dynamics. It's affecting the relationship with our children's fathers. It's affecting the relationships with our children because we're above being checked. Can't nobody say shit to us. We're so angry. We so mad, disrespectful. Everybody mad, you know. That's not the way in which we run the world.
Man, look, great content presentation. I wanna add this article up here to the platform, and I want to read off on it because it's not just about race. This is about, again, sexual discipline too, you know. So it's from 2022, and it says, woman raised white learns her father was black and she was conceived at a swingers party. So my boy Ralph, shout out to Ralph, he sent this a couple days ago, and I just thought about it while we were sitting here. It says, when Christine Jacobson decided to take an at-home DNA test in 2016, she was hoping to learn more about her parents. As far as she knew, they had immigrated from Denmark to the United States, and like most who choose to submit their DNA for analysis, she wanted to dive deeper into her heritage. Insider, Jacobson's quest to learn more about herself came with a lot more information than she anticipated. She's quoted as saying, "I expected the results to show that nearly all of me was Danish," she told Insider. She was 64 years old when she took the Ancestry.com test, and it changed her life forever. To her surprise, the outcome of the test revealed that a quarter of her DNA most likely came from West Africa. However, It is also noted that her ancestry matches were too distant to help her find any close relatives.
Mm.
A few years later, Jacobson took another at-home DNA test, this time with 23andMe. The service matched her to a black woman the company said may be her first cousin. Jacobson and the woman got in contact and compared their DNA. From there, they set up a family tree and soon came to the conclusion that Jacobson's biological father and the other woman's father were brothers.
Mm.
It was a hard pill to swallow for Jacobson, mostly because of the obvious, the color of their skin. My skin is light, she said, but in the results did not lie. And they revealed a decades-old family conflict regarding her ethnic background. Jacobson, now 70 years old, and when looking back at her childhood in New York City, she remembers that there was always a level of dysfunction. It was the 50s and the 60s, and my parents were liberal progressives, she said,
Mm.
adding that her parents would often leave her with a babysitter while they enjoyed jazz in Harlem. They'd often send her to a neighbor or a cousin's home to sleep over, explaining that they were having friends sleep over.
Wow.
She learned that this was code for swingers parties. I knew, but it was never discussed, she said. Jacobson explains that swinging couples are supposed to be in the swinging event together and is supposed to cement or unify their relationship. Unlike polyamory or open relationships, swingers aren't permitted to pursue individual relationships outside of their main union. But Jacobson's mother disobeyed the rule. She had a relationship with another swinger
Mm.
who often hang out with in the family home, but to Jacobson's father's dismay. In 1968, she found herself quarreling with her mother's lover, during which he dropped a major bomb. What do you know? You don't even know who, you don't even know that your father's black. She remembers him telling her. That's when Jacobson's mom jumped in. Oh my God, you promised you'd never tell, she said. Later, Jacobson's mother showed him a faded picture of her biological father and explained that he was a light-skinned dancer from the Bahamas. I thought to myself, what the hell is going on here? Jacobson said. The father she grew up with said the claim was ridiculous. And Jacobson's family never spoke about it again.
Mm.
Let's see here. The 23andMe test confirmed what Jacobson's mother said. Her biological father's name was Paul Muir Jr., and he was a dancer whose family came to the U.S. from the Bahamas. He served as a Marine in an all-black unit during World War II and was living in New York City at the time Jacobson was conceived. Muir was 61 years old when he died.
Mm.
My cousin sent me some links to old stories about his career as a performer, Jacobson said. He looked so similar to me.
Wow.
Jacobson later learned from Muir's former wife that the former Marine participated in swinging in the 1950s. The
Mm.
70-year-old says her newfound heritage has changed her perspective on her white privilege and looks racism through a new set of eyes. It
Mm.
prompted me to look up more carefully at my white privilege and educate myself better. I'm still unfinished in terms of finding my identity, but now that I know the truth, my emotions are in a fairly settled place.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
That is crazy. You know what I'm saying? To really conceive the idea that this woman's 70 years old, and this was in 2022 when this article came out, and she didn't start getting this information until 2016. So from the time that she started looking into it, imagine being 64 years old and then spending 6 years removed from that when everybody's dead to find out that your mom got in a fight that produced an argument where somebody questioned the paternity
Right.
of who your dad was. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. So,
Absolutely.
which goes right back to what's on the bottom of the screen. Sexually undisciplined dating decisions ending negatively. Anytime you make sudden decisions, you're probably going to make the worst choice ever. Very few times out of 10 will you be successful at making sudden decisions and then being accurate.
Absolutely.
So that's one
Absolutely.
thing I wanted to add before we got out of here. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we
Yes,
end?
absolutely. When we break a curse, sometimes you have to break away from the family who taught you. And I'll say that again. When you want to break a generational curse or a generational cycle or a generational pattern, sometimes you have to break away from the very people who taught you that. When it comes to sexual discipline, a lot of black families, a lot of black mothers are shameful about that past. So you have to understand that sometimes you got to do research outside of your family. A lot of your family, mostly women, lying for your mom, and they're lying about her past, lying about your father. Sometimes, like I said, black fathers don't even know that you exist. So you have to you want to be proactive if you don't know your dad and you just heard a woman's story all your life. When it comes to you, breaking the curse means that you have to literally undo everything that you've learned and relearn all new tools. You can't redo a black child's childhood. You can't rewind. You can't replay. You can't go back. So this is the only childhood they got. If you're not ready for children, be proactive. Don't let your being reactive, make you have a kid and make you make bad decisions. It's okay to make mistakes. Sometimes people gonna just do what they do. But in your choices, make sure that you're proactive, even with not bringing children here until you're ready, until you know that you fully are capable of making these affirmative decisions and good decisions by your child. You don't want to continue to bring children out here that don't have connections and don't have any attachments and don't have anybody there for them, don't have any support in their lives because you just want a baby. Our black children are not baby dolls. They're not little play toys to dress up. Our black children are people, and they're going to be black adults one day. If we want this society and this community to run better for us, the only experience I'm talking about is our experience. If we want it to run better for us, it's about the seeds we plant today, making those decisions and making those choices for our families. If you don't want a family, if you don't want a partner, if you can't see yourself being in a home raising your child with another person, with a black man, don't have them. Don't have any children. Don't have any children because you're experimenting with their lives. And then when they grow up and they ask you all these questions and want to know their people and want to know their fathers and want to know their family, you want to throw your rock. You threw rocks all their life and now you want to hide their hand. You hide your hands because now you old and you washed up. Mama don't want to own up to her bad behavior. You got to start owning up, making better decisions, loving yourself more, getting the coaching that you need to undo these patterns. Because you're not going to learn alone. You really going to need that guidance. It's very important because, like I always say, if we're not breaking generational curses, what are we doing? What are we doing? Our babies deserve the best from us because they are the future. And if our future lacks love, if our future lacks stability, if our future lacks emotional regulation and good communication, if our future lacks parents, lacks leaders, lacks guidance, it's going to be bleak. It's not going to be a good one.
Man, you always close out the sermon the right way, boy. I tell you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I have to go there and give you your applause and your flowers.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
I am looking forward to the next topic. Whenever you get it put together, you know how we do.
Yes.
Shout out to the YouTube chat for being engaged, Miss Andrea, and everybody else that was watching this podcast to replay, because I know it's a busy time between Pacific time and Central time right now. But man, great show, great episode, great content, great topic.
Thank you.
For everybody else, we will see you later.